Hey, how's it going? This is David Griggs from the Sherlock Street Studio. And just a little disclaimer, you can follow us on Sherlock Street Studios on Instagram. And first of all, thanks for joining in. And we're here for the Melbourne Art Fair live studio tour and the viewing rooms from the 1st to the 7th, the Melbourne Art Fair through Station Gallery Australia. And it's a bit strange talking to a camera with no one around, but join in. I'm going to give you a little tour of the artists in our studio in Marrickville in Sydney, and then we'll end up in my studio and we can have a little look at some paintings, and I'll explain them best I can. So first of all, welcome, Sherlock Street Studios. We've got a couple of artists in at the moment, and try not to rush, because you feel like, I don't know, want to rush. So first of all, we have Victoria Hempstead in her studio here. And I hope you can get a glimpse into 8 artists working here at the moment. And this is an exciting one because we actually have a real artist, a physical presence of an artist, Will Cook, in his studio.
Hey, how are you?
Say hi to the camera, Will.
What's up?
Hi.
So yeah, he's working late. He's always working late. He's very productive. And then Phil James. It's his birthday today, so I can't blame him for not being in on his birthday. So happy birthday, Phil James. And he's been working on this great, crazy fluoro. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty good. And then Mason Kimber, who actually you just missed him, but he's got some crazy works going. And Mason's studio is very good because not only is his work great, he has good lighting. He knows how to set up a good lighting rig. So that always helps. And then Isabella Pluter's in this space. She's been doing some, I'm not sure what you call them, monotypes. Anyway, some sort of trippy stuff dealing with the sun and making images. So as you can see, all the studios are quite different, very eclectic group of artists. And also behind the camera we have Grace, which I forgot to mention at the start, sorry about that, from Station Gallery. So it's a bit of a team effort here. And then we have Tim Silver, who I'm sure you know his work. He does some really crazy, sometimes ephemeral sculptural stuff. And we have Stevie Fieldsen, who does many things actually. You can see some of her glass blown objects here that are quite beautiful. She also has good lighting in her studio. And then you come to my space, which I was lucky because I got the windows because of the oil paint, so I get a bit of natural light in the day. I did do a little bit of a tidy up, so it looks sort of neat and organized. Where to start? I guess come in and have a look. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to talk about the propaganda paintings, the restaurant paintings, and just general trying to paint and stay somehow distracted and busy during the whole COVID lockdown. I think in a way, artists where, particularly painters that work in a studio setup where we're lucky that we're relatively equipped for that sort of situation, because it's sort of what we do anyway. So look, I mean, I think the best thing besides the works in here is probably the floor. That's like probably the best bit. Jeez, where can I start? Look, I think that, you know, when everything started to sort of drop and become a bit, you know, you had to self-isolate, I was thinking about the idea of the COVID-19 and the idea that it's a virus that's affecting people. And before that was happening, I was dealing with a lot of abstraction and dealing with sort of my mood and paint and color, just, you know, through painting. And I decided that with what was happening, I should move back to figuration. So I moved back to figuration pretty much overnight, you know. But then again, I had to source imagery, and I had to think about how do I approach this, you know, because there's a lot of, well, not just a lot of the propaganda we were hearing on the news, but a lot of the visual imagery was very, what's the word? It was banal, you know. It was very simple. So I had to think about how do I use this idea of simplifying and explaining something that we were all dealing with, but trying to, I guess, put my own humor in there and, you know, struggle through it, be hopeful, and yeah, just create and just distract. So I mean, there's a lot of work I've been doing, and as you can see, we've got aeroplanes in Maryville, so if the audio drops out, it's just an aeroplane, which in a way is a nice noise to hear at the moment, because we haven't heard those planes for a while. But you know, look, I think that, you know, when I was dealing with imagery again, I started to look at art history again, and I always like to go back. So some of the references are, you may or may not know, but some of them are like Courbet, obviously Van Gogh, Sidney Nolan. So there's a real mix, and I think I was latching onto these things because they were from a point in time where nature was this sense of the individual picture on the plane. You know, it was just about nature, and we were sort of locked in the house. So I felt like you were craving some sort of external experience, and what better way, for me anyway, to feel that sort of connection was to look at paintings. You know, paintings of beautiful landscapes. And then, but of course, I would tweak them and put in my own sort of strange sense of humor, and I like the idea of dealing with semi-iconography, you know, stuff that we're familiar with, but sort of tweaking it and tripping it out into its own language. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just start with a couple of paintings so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. Well, let's start with this large work. So this is actually from a Courbet landscape, and I just felt like, wow, it's like an interesting challenge to try and paint snow. And even though I'm dealing with figuration, I try to deal with it very gesturally and very, like, you have a reference, you draw it up, you know sort of what's going to happen, but then your intuitive nature of how you as an individual artist is going to handle the paint, you know, so it's always different. It's not like a color by numbers, you know, so it's a direct copy, but at the same time it's a completely uncopied work, if that makes sense. And then with the sort of Nolan reference, the Kelly reference, you keep seeing the images of people wearing the masks, so you're only seeing the eyes. And I just thought that was sort of funny, you know. So it's not some Australiana comment, it's sort of a comment that sort of fit in this particular time frame. And I was imagining because, you know, when you look at some of these Courbet landscapes, I know that some of the snow scenes, particularly with the animals, you know, the hunting scenes, they were staged, and everything was sort of staged. So it's like a weird combination of the landscape mixed with being within a studio setting, very theatrical. So I thought, well, I'll play some stuff, like be theatrical in my own sort of Australian mind frame. And something about the snow and the mountains it reminded me of sort of an album cover for a heavy metal, when I was doing it. So I thought, let's give little Sydney Nolan his Ned Kelly Slayer t-shirt. So, it's just something, it comes into your head and you just paint it. I think about something on the spot. I might and ah about if I'm going to do it a minute, 2 minutes. And if I decide, that's it, then I just do it, and hope for the best. Because, the beauty with painting, which my grandmother taught me, who was a painter, was, she was always like, David, if you don't like it, you paint over it. And I sort of still keep that approach. And sometimes if you plan things too much, it feels very forced and very stagnant. So if I have an idea, I just do it. And if it connects and clicks, I'll keep it. But if not, scrape it back, try something else, So that's my approach all the time, really. So good on grandma, If you don't like it, paint over it. So I still do that. And also I guess with the COVID stuff, thinking about being not trapped, but, in sort of forced isolation within the studio setting. So I had this grand idea, like, it'd be so amazing to paint outside at the moment, and imagine if you had a studio with an open roof and all these things. So this is sort of meant to be me painting outside one of these paintings. But look, it's just, it's an experience that has kept me busy. Look, and I think with painting, I did definitely discover a few things dealing with the images again. It's what you don't paint that sort of is, the language that you're looking for. So there was a lot of things. It's the gesture of the mark that creates even a line, a horizon line, that even if it's just one simple sort of slash of a color or a paint, it'll create that horizon, it'll create that, that tree branch, or the highlight on the face or whatever it is. And it's like, you're not trying to like render something to be three-dimensional. You're trying to get the gesture of that three-dimensionality out through a very simple mark. But that is actually a difficult thing to do, but it's quite an exciting thing when you get it right. You have that moment of, I did that mark. That's the mark I've been trying to make, like 100 times over. You might get it the first go, or you'll get it 20 times. You just got to keep trying. And look, there's a few things that you might identify with. We've got the sort of Bondi Beach setting when, don't go to the beach. So, and it's a very strange time where, even right now, where there's countries still dealing with a very heavy pandemic, that we're still also, after a lot of the justice that's happening. And look, it's things are changing so fast in the world. It's exciting and scary at the same time. And all I can really respond to is that Australia, we came out of this pretty unscathed. I have friends still back in the Philippines that they have a curfew of 5 p.m. and if you're out on the street in any area, look, you're going to be in trouble. So, we've been pretty lucky. And I guess in talking with the Philippines, it's just, if you're interested in art and you're interested in painting particularly, the art scene, the painting scene there is just mind-blowing. So as a little bit of tourist promotion, so to speak, when things pick up and you can travel and you're just interested in contemporary art, go to Manila and check out all the painters there. It's definitely shaped who I am as an artist. The rawness and the sort of honesty of what's happening out of there is just, it just sort of drove me for a long, long time. and yeah, completely informed who I am as an artist. So you can have a little look. I mean, there's a few things. I don't really know what else to say other than I think it's just great that we can, still communicate even though I'm not behind the camera. What can I talk about? Well, I don't know if you know anything about some of the Sidney Nolan paintings with the eyes, the eyeballs, that are very, very fast gesture of a circle with a tiny bit of black. And so I sort of took that idea of dropping, because sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not in his work. And I like the idea of thinking, well, where are they, when they're not there? They're not on the picture plane, So I would just sort of drop them into some of the landscapes. So, yeah, if you're one of the lucky people that actually own one, and you wonder where the eyeballs in your Kelly mask is, they're right here. They're just dropped here. Yeah. So look, I mean, I know you all probably want to get to your dinner, and just a little quick tour, and I just hope you're all being well, and yeah, just take care of yourself, and yeah, just love each other during this time.